Hello, and welcome again to Headway Idea Labs. My name is Wes Okeke, and I am the CEO and founder of Headway. Over the past 10 years, I have been building process steps for startups, medium-sized businesses, and even some large businesses to utilize in order to develop a much stronger business. And so everything Headway does is focused on purpose. There's a deeper reason why we have set up our process steps in our training to follow certain criteria to help a company be strong in the goals and the milestones and missions that it sets out to deliver. So, quick intro into building a cohesive team. Over the past 10 years as a founder and CEO, I've had to do this multiple times as I was making a ton of mistakes in the beginning. And the funny part about it, in the very early beginning on my team was about 10 people that were all volunteers, and they were all very close friends. And that did not last long. It lasted probably 3 to 6 months. They're all still very close friends and good friends of mine. But the problem was they weren't all on the same page in regards to their reason, their why, and why they were supporting my business. So this is very important. So the main reason why startups and businesses fail, even long-standing businesses will fail, is due to the person, the people, or the key leaders of that company. And we all know that a team's skills are very important, but what's even more important is the types of values the team members have, their character traits, and their unified why. In other words, why are they on this mission to develop this business, this technology, or this company, or this service? The reason why they are on this journey to build a product or a business all has to align. It will play a very, very key role in development of a successful business. So here, going through this process and phase that we're going to go through in the next few minutes, we're going to do a deep dive in the type of character that you are potentially going to hire. Now, not just the team members, but also yours, as it will prove extremely valuable to the stability, the sustainability, and the overall harmony of your company's journey. Very important. As I mentioned earlier, even with best friends, family members, or close coworkers, ignoring the next several stages of building a team will provide extreme difficulty in the coming days, weeks, or months. Right? When a company is going through some really challenging times, as a startup especially, or any business, or really great times, the types of team members that you have, or core team members that are helping you make decisions and driving your business forward, is going to be important. So a few quick things. Listen carefully, please, as we go through this. Listen carefully and accept some of the hard truths about yourself and about each of your team members. Number two, make the necessary difficult decisions. And I've had to do this where one of my best friends, we had to separate. He's still my very best friend. We're still working on different projects together. But I had to make the difficult decision that he was not he was not the right fit for that role in my business at that time. And the number three, execute on steps to set up the best core team possible. And so also, if you're co-founders, this is going to be important. You're going to need to work things out so that you're able to work together and be in sync with your mission, your vision, your values. So the goal is assembling a team with everyone clearly possessing an aligned vision and mission with the right character, values to execute will be your key goals. Each member will need to be in alignment with the company's values, as this will provide the cohesion to succeed in driving forward progress. It as well will impress potential investors. So each team member needs to be aligned in the company's values, and we'll talk through about that a little bit. Lastly, it's very important to understand that a product's features, patents, and price structure are not the main success items of a good business. The people are. So put the product features aside, your patents and all the great things that you want to do, and focus on the people first. Hands-on. So core team. And most startups know that this is very important. It's more than a title. The CEO, CTO, CMO, those C-suite titles are very exciting to have and put on the website, put on your business cards and on your social media. But this is a team that must be fully hands-on, especially as a startup. Number two, decide what roles are absolutely necessary. And we'll talk a little bit about that, just based on if it's just you as the one founder or two of you or three of you, you want to always decide what roles are extremely necessary. If you're a single founder, my strong advice is to get a co-founder on your team as soon as possible. Number three, ensure that everyone understands and aligns with your mission and your values. I think you're going to hear this quite a bit. Number four, the core team that is a solid, cohesive team is what investors look at first and foremost. Without the right team, risks of failure are very high. So I have judged tons and tons of pitch competitions, talked to tons of investors. In fact, when investors are interested in speaking to a startup to invest, they always ask about the team, and if they're coachable. So very, very important. Number five is Entrepreneur article says 7 out of 8 reasons why businesses fail are people problems. And this is very, very true. First year, now this is very interesting. First year, 25 business has a 25% chance of failing. By the 10th year, it has an even larger percentage probability of failure, 75%. And the focus was on a company level reasons for failure. Each of these reasons for failure is due to a failure in leadership at some level. So again, I'm going to continue to emphasize the people in regards to the success of your startup. Please do not minimize this. This is extremely important. A lot of companies try to focus on the technology and their product and all the exciting things that people are talking about. But again, if the people are not, the team is not strong, then you will run into a ton of problems. And most likely you will fail. So understanding who you are and who they need to be, right? And so we're going to look at values. What are your values? We're going to look at the individual why for the business, which is also your mission, the why. If you've ever watched the Simon Sinek video, The Why, please do so. We have in our process steps online, you may run into that. More than likely, you're going to run into that because we have that video everywhere. The company's vision. This is where is the company how do you envision the company in 10, 20 years? And then the skill sets of each potential member. And where are they great in a set of unique tasks? If you haven't already done so, we recommend you consider creating a stronger value proposition in this phase or in this program right here. This is not too long of a program, but probably take you a couple of weeks, depending on how big your team is, maybe longer. We do a deep dive into the values, the mission, the vision, and the product. We actually add the product in here. But since we're not focusing on the product and we're focusing on the people, we're still looking at the values, the mission, the vision, and the skill sets of the people you want to bring on board. So if you have time and a little bit in your budget, you can go and take this one other program, Creating a Stronger Value Proposition. So individual personal skills and strengths. Before you grow your team, it is essential that you understand your own skills, your own strengths, your weaknesses, and areas you can improve. Also, this will help you determine where you may have gaps in your skill sets. Do not be insecure about determining what the weak areas of your skills may be. This will help you be better prepared when you seek input or support. And as a young manager in my late 20s, I was 29, 30, and I ran a team of about 30. And the CEO once told me, because the CEO could tell I was insecure about some strengths of others that were better than mine. And he said, Wes, the best managers are those that bring people around them that are as smart as them or smarter. And so if you're in a leadership position, and you hear this quite often and more often, you always want to surround yourself with people as smart as you or smarter. It's probably best to bring people in that are smarter without being insecure. So we have some steps here that will help you dig into a bit of your own personality and your skill sets and so on and so forth. And that is some links here that we provide to third-party resources. Blind spots and weaknesses. So this is a huge one, a huge one. After completing your skills assessment, you should be able to clearly see your strengths. Now, what about your weaknesses and your blind spot? What about knowing your usual behavior under specific circumstances, like when you are stressed or anxious? We recognize these behaviors as our blind spots. So this is areas where we make bad decisions or we overreact emotionally. This is where emotions take over, either in a very bad way, negative way, or in an overly positive way. So we're either frustrated or anxious or worried, or we're overly excited and we're not thinking clearly, and we can make bad decisions because we are overly confident. Identifying your blind spots and areas of weakness is very helpful and necessary in developing not only your personal growth, but it will also provide an atmosphere of harmony between yourself and your co-founders, employees, etc. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about blind spots, and please hear me out on this one. Extremely important. This almost ruined me, my life, my business, my career. Multiple times I've seen it derail businesses, people's startups, so many times. And they have a phenomenal product. They have a phenomenal market, but they can't see their blind spots. Now, I want you to think about your blind spots. These are areas emotionally that you tend to misinterpret. You always tend to misinterpret these situations emotionally. These are areas where your perspective or your view of things can be slightly or majorly off or skewed. The outcome will show themselves mainly through your reactions during certain situations. Unfortunately, you will ultimately make decisions or assessments that are inaccurate. You may tend to either overreact or underreact, feel hurt, feel angry, or overly sympathetic or unaware as well, or other feelings or reactions, such as being overly confident, overly positive about a situation without solid facts or concrete validation. Anyway, these are blind spots, and regardless of the situation, whether you approve or disapprove of, they will unfortunately tend to influence you to make decisions that are inaccurate, whether you act them out or are verbal. In many cases, in most cases, they become extremely detrimental and undermine your overall mission. Two hard things to do: understanding what your blind spots are, and then secondly, which is even harder, owning up to them. You have to own up to them. It will greatly help you make the right decisions all the time. It will help you not create the wrong reactions or have the worst outcomes take place. People that are not intimidated by you or are worried about hurting your feelings are the best people to provide you honest feedback about your blind spots. Listen to them. Be very humble and very honest with yourself about these blind spots, and have people in your life validate them. So I've gone to my children, gone to my wife, and they'll say, "Hey, Dad, this is what we've been telling you about, and this is something you don't listen to. We've told you, we've had this discussion." Or my wife says, "Honey, I've been telling you this for years. This is where you always go." And no, you don't understand. You guys don't see it. No one understands me. They are probably targeting a blind spot. most likely they're targeting a blind spot. And in great humility, you need to pursue this further. And so this is a situation with my blind spots. I haven't mastered them yet, even in my late 50s. So when I'm feeling that this may be a blind area of mine, I immediately make a phone call to get advice. Weaknesses, we'll jump to weaknesses. Weaknesses are very similar to blind spots. These are areas where your skills are not strong or as strong as someone else's. You may not be as knowledgeable. You may not be able to handle important or critical tasks or role well enough. Those that are not great at being creative should acknowledge they're not good as others on their team, or being as technical, or being as strong in leadership. Understanding where your weak areas are is very important, so that you can find the right people to complement those weak areas. And even if you're the CEO, do not be insecure or ashamed that there's a lot you don't know. Keep that vision strong, keep that mission alive, and reminding the team what your mission is, why you're on this journey. Keep showing them the vision and keep moving things forward. But do not become insecure because you may have a lot of weak areas in regards to skill set. If you're not natural at public speaking, marketing, sales, or customer service, work on finding team members that may be able to provide more support or lead in some of those areas where you may be weaker. Now, there's some CEOs and founders that are not good at public speaking, so when they have to do the presentation or speak in front of do a pitch, they don't do great. They do horrible. And so I always suggest find someone that can do that, and do not be ashamed that this may not be your strength. But on the other hand, don't run away from growing from some of these areas that are weak. So I used to hate public speaking, and there's a long story behind that, and I grew in it. So this advice is not to abdicate ever growing in those areas. You want to grow in those areas. Just don't be insecure about them. Team roles and company needs. In the previous slides, we identified your skills and weaknesses and also blind spots. And hopefully you have reviewed your team's skills, strengths, and weaknesses, and have decided the type of team members that you need to search for, interview, and bring on board. Now, a few things to remember. These team members you'll bring on board, they will complement the weaknesses of yourself and other team members that may be part of your team. They will align with your company's, they must align with your company's mission and values, and believe and visualize in the company's vision. They will be confident enough to challenge you on your blind spots. This is necessary for a lead team. You must have men and women on your team that are not intimidated by you and are able to challenge you when you're in that space of being blinded by some things you're missing again. They will be a positive and encouraging part of your team. Obviously, you want those that tell the truth, but then you also want those that are going to encourage the team when things are down and hard, and are providing motivation and inspiration to the rest of the team. And the fifth, you have defined what role each team member will play in the company. We'll talk a little bit about that. Remaining thoughts and questions: are they who the company needs to achieve the greatest milestone? So in your early stage, depending on what stage and your limited resources, what are the greatest milestones that need to be achieved? You want to bring in team members that can help achieve these greatest milestones. So 3 things you will do. Number 1, if you're considering bringing someone on in your early stages of interviewing, you will have them revise the job description to match their desires and their confidence, right? So here's what they are thinking and their confidence level of what they feel they can bring to the company. Obviously, it has to be approved by the founding team or yourself if you're the only founder. Number 2, verify what they will need to create their own individual strategies, right? So if you're considering someone as a core team leader or lead member, you want them to be able to create their own strategies that will support their role and the business to move it forward. So If I was coming in as a CTO, I would lay out my strategy for the next 6, 12, 24 months. Obviously, get it approved by the team, the hiring team, but at least you want to make sure that every core team member is equipped and able to develop their own strategy for that business. And I say 6, 12, and 24 months. And then 3, they'll be able to help achieve major milestones with the support of the team. So let's first begin to identifying some of the roles of the core team. We look at the common startup positions, C-suite. Again, these are all hands-on. They're not titles only, but they're hands-on. Remember, at the beginning of most startups, most team members may wear multiple hats, but it's paramount that you're in a role that will thrive based on your strengths. With each team member, you should discuss the role you would like them to be responsible for. CEO, everyone should know what a CEO is. Chief Executive Officer. CTO has to do with Technology Officer. COO, Operations Officer. COO is really good. So Headway sometimes provides COO services, but the COO helps to ensure that everyone is working together synergistically. CFO is Financial Officer. That, in my opinion, is typically later on in the development of the business. CXO is Chief Experience Officer. And sometimes a CEO, the founder, makes a better CFO because they understand the problem, the solution. They understand how it's going to interact with the people. So Chief Experience Officer works also with the CMO, which is the marketing officer, and the CEO to ensure that the customers are having the experience that the company intended to deliver. So consider a CXO sometimes as a CEO, and sometimes a CEO should be a CTO instead. And then you have CMO marketing, and then CBDO, Chief Business Development Officer. So when you're deciding these roles and bringing people on board, number one, as of right now, today, what do you need today? And then what roles would you need in 12 to 24 months, 36 months later, or upon acquisition? And so as these times go on, you may switch some roles of some of your team members. But the most important thing is you're bringing these team members on board. Hopefully you remember are what? Their values, their character, their mission, their vision for the company, to make sure it's in alignment. Have those first. Skills are secondary. After roles are identified, you'll determine the talent and the skills the company needs to achieve its greatest milestones, as we mentioned before. This could include outsourcing contractors, bringing on additional partners, consultants, advisors, interns. Do what you have to do to come in to help fill those gaps. If you have an interim consulting COO from Headway, some companies do. Our role is to help you develop your idea startup in the right direction as a purpose-driven company. Even if you now have the finances to hire an all-star team, we do have guidelines and guides you can download on building your best team on a budget. And I'm pretty sure I will put that in that program, but it's a PowerPoint presentation on how to build a team, equity only team. And just some quick advice on that. When it comes to building an equity only team, it's best to find men and women that already have full-time jobs and are really good at time management. And if they can dedicate anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week, and they align with the values, the mission, the vision of your business, and they understand the product and the problem it's solving, fantastic. If you're bringing on a team member that doesn't have a job currently, and they're looking for a full-time job to get paid, and you're only doing equity only, once they get a full-time job, trust me, most of the time they dive into that full-time job, and it's very difficult getting time from them until they get on their way, comfortable and running with that full-time job. So you can run into problems. So now let's get started. Again, these are our investor readiness programs that are available for you for very discounted pricing right now. Market research for those that need market research, creating a stronger value proposition, developing your business strategies, building an effective sales channel, and then early adopter reports. This we do ourselves. And then this is free, 4 steps to build if you're building a product. And these are the majority of these steps. These programs are all in here currently, and we have them in a systematic fashion, just because these are critical when you're starting the idea from scratch. We also have templates in our programs. These are not the only templates, but these are sample templates that we pulled out. But all of our programs have templates that are PDF and editable. And then if you need funding, we have 400 plus and growing funding platform. It's roughly about $29 a month to get on this platform if you pass certain tests criteria. But that's what the rate is to get on our funding platform. Again, thank you for listening to this intro in building a cohesive team. Wish you good luck, and hope you do a great job in building a team and are very, very successful. Thank you.